Welcome back, 7th and 8th grade. This is Friday, April 17th, and this is video number 6. If you can't guess by the image behind me, we are going to be talking about the senses later in this video. But for now, what I would like you to do is to, if you haven't already, get out your lesson review questions from the previous video. That's lesson 5.33, the nervous system. And we are going to go over the answers to the lesson review questions and the worksheet 5.33 brainy games. So feel free to pause the video or go back, but make sure that you have the correct answers to these questions moving forward, because you will need to make sure that you have the correct information when you complete your assignment at the end of this module. All right, so lesson review questions 5.33, number 1 says, name the 3 parts of the neuron and the function of each. So the 3 parts of the neuron are the cell body. Okay, it has the nucleus and is the control center for the cell. The next part is the axon, which transmits messages and is usually away from the neuron. And lastly, the dendrites are the 3rd major part, and that receives messages from other cells. Number 2, explain the difference between the central nervous system and the peripheral nervous system. The correct answer is that the central nervous system includes the brain and the spinal cord, while the peripheral nervous system consists of the nerves and sensory receptors throughout your body. Number 3, what are the 3 parts of the brain and their functions? Okay, the 3 parts of the brain. The first is the brain stem, which controls reflexes and involuntary mechanisms such as respiration, heartbeat, and swallowing, and also controls activities like your sleep and wake cycle. The second part of the brain is the cerebellum, which involves balancing and maintaining muscle tone and muscle coordination. And lastly, the third is the cerebrum, which controls thought and other voluntary acts and detects sounds, smells, sight, taste, pain, heat, and cold. And number 4, name 3 diseases of the nervous system. I gave you that nice long list, so answers could be MS, multiple sclerosis, amyotrophic lateral sclerosis or ALS, epilepsy, meningitis, Alzheimer's, dementia, and Parkinson's disease. Okay, so make sure you guys have those answers correct, and that if you haven't already done so, make sure that you have sent those to me. I need those in my inbox, please. Okay? And so we just went over the answers to the lesson review questions, and now looking at your brainy activities, okay? I am just going to be giving you the answers to the top portion of this worksheet, because the bottom was kind of up. You guys would all have different answers. It's kind of up for interpretation, but please just make sure you pause this and you have labeled these parts all correctly on your worksheet in case you are responsible for labeling them at a later date. Okay. And so now we are actually going to jump into the next section in your book, which is section 5.3.4 on the senses. All right, and you guys are probably familiar to some degree with what I mean by the senses. You know or have heard of probably the 5 major senses: vision, hearing, smell, taste, and touch. And so traditionally we do recognize that there are 5 major senses, but some scientists actually argue that there's over 20 different senses that we have. Things like itch or temperature sensation, pain, your ability to balance, or even to feel a tickle. Some scientists count these all as other senses. And ultimately, the purpose of our senses is to help us interact with the world around us. And so you have sensory receptors that are located throughout your body that work together with the nerves of your peripheral nervous system to communicate with your brain. And we talked about that all in the last section. There has to be a stimulus, though, for these nerves, and that stimulus comes in the form of an electrical impulse. As we've been talking about, your whole nervous system works off of an electrical current or impulse. Okay, and this impulse gets conducted along all of the nerves that stretch out from the peripheral nervous system, from your very tippy toes to your fingers. And impulse from this electrical signal eventually will reach the central nervous system, and the central nervous system, abbreviated here CNS, translates into meaningful information like pain, heat, taste, touch. And so that's exactly how we have all these senses. Okay? And This image is just, I found this online, but it's similar to one that is in your textbook. This is actually an image of skin, and we studied that in an earlier module. We never did get to finish our skin models in class because all this chaos with the coronavirus happened. But you see here, we've got the three major parts of the skin labeled, your epidermis, dermis, and hypodermis. And so this is showing you the different types of receptors that you actually have in your skin. So these are those sensory organs that we're talking about when we say that your peripheral nervous system is those nerves and sensory glands. So we have thermoreceptors right here. Those sense heat or cold in your skin. You have myocinus corpuscles, which are your ability to sense touch. So if this feather is tickling you, this receptor can sense that. You have the nociceptors, which sense pain. Okay, so they're showing you here the pin needle here you would feel on your skin. You have the I'm not sure if it's Pacinian or Pacinian corpuscle, but this senses pressure. So when someone pinches you or pushes something into your skin, you can sense it that way. And you also have receptors for things like temperature, heat or sunburn type thing when you feel the warmth of the sun on your skin. So these are all the result of those sensory receptors. Okay, and so that's actually where we're stopping for today's video, trying to keep these short for you guys. You have no new homework tonight. That's something to celebrate. But check back on Monday because we're going to be talking about the specific sense of sight, and we're going to be studying some of the parts of the eye and exactly how God created our eyes to take in information and to process it so that we can see. All right, and so I will see you guys on Monday. I hope you have a lovely weekend and enjoy the no homework.